Okay, so we're on to part two. As you can see, I've filled in quite a few of my hexagons. Are they hexagons? I think so. And I've just got this middle one to do. The important thing to do is to make sure you've got really nice straight edges, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill those edges, I'm going to fill these spaces in from behind. So I want to make sure that my edges here are nice and straight and precise. That's the main thing. Then it just makes it easier to fill in the whole thing from behind. You could even do like a whole piece behind all in one go. I'm not going to do that because I want to just make sure that where the black is going to touch the black, that it's not actually touching a black, it's an off black. You may be a dark red or a dark green or dark blue or something like that, just to make sure that it stands away from it. So all I've got to do now is this middle piece, and we're going to go with some quite dark oranges in there. So just the same as we've done before. As I said, cut yourself some nice straight edges. To fill in the gap. And I'm just lifting and placing under. Okay, it fills in pretty quickly. just got a few little strays on here, so we'll just tidy that up a little bit. Horrible edge on there, so we'll just cut that off. Some sort of cotton stuck there. Doesn't want to come off, so let's cut it off rather than pulling it. The only thing you have to just watch when you're doing this sort of lifting and putting the stuff under is just make sure that other bits are not lifting and coming down wrong, if you see what I mean. So that was like that, and it was over the white area, and I didn't want that, so just tuck it back under again. That's the only thing you've got to just keep an eye out for. That's quite pale, so I'm going to just draw around that bit and get a nice edge so that we're not showing lots from underneath. Do that all in one bit, we use this. Work out how it went. That's it, isn't it? Right. There we go, got to tuck that back under again. And because that white might just stick, it hasn't. Just use a bit of parchment paper over the top of it, and also the white can easily get very dirty, so it's always useful to use something like parchment paper when you're ironing onto the white. Otherwise it just gets a bit grubby. Right, looks quite easy coming off of there, so we'll just sling that under. Doesn't want to quite fit there. Maybe just about there. Ah, fits there. And I'm going to whip this bit off. Just take this frayed edge off. I mean, I cut all my frayed edges off, but it doesn't worry me too much if there is a frayed edge on the finished piece, because I just think that kind of, I mean, obviously if it's massively frayed then it's not great, but I think it adds to the uniqueness of a piece. It just you know, reinforces the fact that these are fabrics. So many of my pieces of work, people don't realise they're actually fabric until they get right up to them. So it's quite nice to sometimes just to have that little bit of these are not paintings, that, you know, they're made out of fabric. It's amazing. Let's embrace the fact that there might be a few little stray threads here and there. I mean, with my sewing, there's always a few stray threads. I mean, I don't show the back of my pieces because, you know, they're not neat and tidy. That's why I don't do quilts, that's why I do pictures. It's a dog drinking water. It is quite warm here today. Just folded that under. So I have it that way. Just want my edges to line up. Couple more bits and then we've done all of those. Stuck on there, so we better pull all of that up. Right, so I can see I can take quite a lot off of that corner. Right, one more bit in there and it's done. What should we use in there? We use a bit of this. a bit of the red. Just gonna draw around that, I think. I've got my pencil, there's my pencil. Cut it out a bit more accurately so we haven't got loads and loads. Now, why isn't that fitting? Is it a different way around? No. No. Ah. Oh, that shows you how dirty my iron is. Look at that. That's why I use a bit of parchment paper. Right, so all of that is now done, apart from these bits that run through that define the shapes of my honeycomb. So, much like I've just done, I'm now going to use all my scraps of black and dark colours to fill in those gaps. So I've got a scrap drawer of quite dark stuff, and I'm just going to literally start filling in from behind. I'm going to look to see any areas that are black on black and just make sure that it still shows up quite well. This has got a bit of a pattern in it, so see, that's okay. It's not wonderful, but it's okay. It might be better off over here. Don't know. Maybe back over there. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. We'll go with that. That was my tray falling down. So that's a bit paler. So that's going to work really well against that tail. And again, look, I just need to pull that tail through a bit because I don't want that red over the top of it. Right, now we're on to fairly easy areas, so I can just go back to my plain blacks. Don't need to think about it much. But I do want to make sure that there is a difference between my pieces. And even using blacks, you're going to get plenty of different sorts of blacks, so you're always going to be able to see that it's made up. inky black bit here. Look. I might put that, yeah, over there. Look, that will stand out really nicely over there. Bit bubbly. Tray. Now I've got this black. Let me just move it over. I've got this last block I did black, which is what it was in the pattern. So what I want to make sure is that I've got some slightly different colours that are gonna stand off of that. You see, that actually works quite well. So look at that. That doesn't show up quite so well. We could probably find something with quite a lot of patterning. That might be quite nice. See, that works quite well. So we have a bit of that. And what else? That's too black. Could have some brown in there, although that's quite a similar sort of. It's quite a, actually, that works. So we'll have a bit of that. Use a little bit of the black area on this. Looks like I need another little bit in there to fill. So just missed a bit there, didn't it? Let's just grab a bit of that colour. We can just use a bit of that. See if I can find some burgundy. Yeah, it's quite nice. I'm not quite stuck on there, so we just stick it back down again. And that's the line of the actual top of the picture. So I'm going well over the edge. So although these edges here don't, you can't see that. So although these edges here don't look terribly neat, that's because they're going to go right the way around over the edge anyway. So they don't have to be amazingly neat. Because I will then put a binding round. I will then put something like this going all the way round to cover that edge up. There we go. Just make sure you are still using your blacks as well though, because sometimes you get a bit carried away with the patterns and then you kind of lose what it should look like. So go back to a plain old black here. Okay, so I want something away from that black, so let's see what we got. Yeah, that works perfectly. This is a sort of project that I keep all my tiny little pieces for. And wonder why I keep all those tiny little pieces, and then you suddenly think, oh, I know where I can use that. I just got a bit of orange, not very straight. this is really simple because I spent that little bit longer making sure that I had really nice straight edges. It just makes life a little bit easier in the long run. Let's move this over a bit. She would go up a bit. And this is the reason I deliberately did the antennae in a patterned black. Because I knew it was going to be black on black. What's going on there? Better. So just use that burgundy colour again up there. Nearly there. I'll just put another bit in there. Right, so that's just about, oh, I've got this bit over here. Put a bit more of this in. And I just need to cut this through. Okay, oh, just found another bit at the bottom here. Down here. Just when you thought it was safe to go back into the water. Right, so let's just clear this off so we can have a look at it. It's a little bit stuck on my white. Almost needed a brush on that. So there we go, that is what it looks like. So now that we're at this stage, we've got it all covered over, we should be able to quite easily peel it off in one go. So let's see if it works. This is when you start to see that you might have one or two gaps. That's all right, you can fill them in still. But you can see it comes off really nice and easy. And in one, I love this. It's my favourite thing, just peeling it off. Oh, lovely. There we go. Now I'm going to just pause the video for a minute, and then I'm going to come back with my piece of backing to show you what I do next. Okay, so what I've got, I do put my pictures all onto boxed canvases. Okay, so I'm going to just show you what I do. So this is the canvas that's going to go on. You can see that the picture is wider all the way around. Than the actual top, because I want it to go down the sides. So what I do is I cut a piece of wadding. This is actually a piece of old blanket. I make use of anything I possibly can, and I cut my piece of blanket or my wadding to the exact same size as the top, because I do not want my sides to be too bulky to go around the corners. So I just cut that to the size of the top. Then what I would do is I would put my picture on the top of it, in exactly where I want it. So I'm actually going to turn it over so that I can see where the edges are. I can take that off for a minute. That's pretty much exactly where I want it really. I need to just come down a little bit. Right, that's okay. And I find it easier to then turn it back over. Otherwise you've got to try and get through all that wadding, get the heat through all that wadding. And this is definitely a time for parchment paper over the top. I'm going to start in the middle. I'm hoping that this iron is going to be mighty enough, but we'll find out. Might not be, I might have to change over to my bigger one. And just going, pushing it out really. And what should happen is that the fusible that we took off of the parchment paper should now completely stick to my background. Just see how we're going. Now you see that's not mighty enough, so I'm going to have to swap over to my big machine. Get a bit of welly going. This iron is going to be much hotter. Any domestic iron will be fine though. It's just that little travel iron, great for working on the parchment paper, but it's just not quite hot enough. It would be, I mean, I'd just have to do it for longer and longer, but you know, we don't want to waste that amount of time on here. So I just wait for it to warm up. And here we go. Now I'm using Bondaweb, so it's a dry stick. I know some of the others you have to use steam, but with Bondaweb you don't. It's just a dry iron. You can see it's sticking to my background fine. That should be it. Let's just check it's all stuck down. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. Let's do a little bit more on that edge. Right, so that's all of that part done. That is now, you can see it's fixed onto the back there. When I come to the sewing bit, I will sew some of this binding round my edge, just so that that then fits round the edge of my canvas. I just find this is so much easier, just nice and thin to do the work with the corners. So that will go around like that, all the way round. Okay, so we will stop the video now, and we will now go on to the sewing part. So bye for now.